Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and I'm here today at the Springfield Armory National Historic Site, taking a look at some of the really cool submachine guns that they have in their reference collection. Now, this is a Romanian Orita model 1941 submachine gun, and what's really cool about it is it's in the original 1941 first factory configuration. I have a previous video in which I talk about all the history of the development of this gun, but it shows a 1941/48 updated version of the Orita, and virtually all of these guns were updated in the late 1940s to fix a bunch of legitimate problems with them. This is the first one I have yet gotten my hands on that's in the original configuration, which for extremely nerdy people is extremely cool. So we're going to go ahead and take a close look at this because I want to show you all the original features of the 1941 Orita. So the short version here is the Orita is Romania's first domestic production submachine gun. It was developed by a Captain Martin Orita, manufactured at the Cugir plant in Romania. 9mm parabellum caliber, used a 32-round double stack single feed magazine like this guy, and these went into production in 1942. I believe they were first issued in early 1943, and they were a feature-filled, if a little bit clunky, submachine guns, hence the reason they were all updated later on. But let's start with a quick look at the markings here. We have, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. That's CMC factory Cugir. The Orita model 1951, caliber 9mm, serial 6710. And we do also have that serial number stamped into the buttstock there. Sights. The front sight is a big trapezoidal post, a couple of protector wings, and that was used with this originally. This is a 500 meter, well, it's adjustable out to 500 meter, V-notch rear sight. You can see there are the adjustments, 1 to 5, and what you do with this is pull these tabs back and then adjust it up and down. A little clunky. This would be replaced with just a much simpler two-position flip sight. We have two separate controls on the right side of the gun. This front one is your safety lever. Safe is down. You can see S there. And if I flip that up, F means it is set to fire. This locks the bolt in position and, of course, prevents the gun from firing. It's an open bolt firing gun, so if the bolt's forward, it can't fire anyway. This is the selector switch. So up is single shot, hence the 1. Down is full auto, hence the A that you can just barely see in there. We have a non-reciprocating charging handle here on the left side. This one's really gooey inside, so I apologize, but we're not going to do a lot of dry cycling of this because it's just gummed up, and I don't have the chance to clean it up before I film it here. So we have an all wooden stock, and it's a pretty thin stock out here at the front. The wrist in particular would prove to be fairly fragile. They would replace that with a different system later on. But for now, the original guns, wood stock, sling swivel back here, and you may have seen it already, sling swivel right up there at the front. Magazine release is that button right there. And to disassemble it, we remove the rear receiver end cap. This latch is also different on the originals than on the upgraded guns. They gave it a little bit more, a system that takes a little more effort to unlock to disassemble. So for this, I just pull that tab backward, and I can rotate it 90 degrees, and it comes off the back of the gun. We have a buffer here at the end, just a solid steel block, and our recoil spring. Now I'm going to skip forward and take the stock off as well at this point. Normally there are 2 screws, but this one is missing. So we pull that screw out. I can then take off the trigger guard. How's that for a simple trigger? It's actually a really interesting and unusual trigger mechanism that I didn't show in my first video, but you'll see it here in a moment. When you pull the trigger, it just lifts this piece up. No spring or anything. We can take the stock off, screw spacer there, and then the stock just comes off. So big cutout here to accommodate the rear of the round receiver. All right, now let's pull the bolt back. There we go. We'll get to this thing in a minute, but first, let's take a look at the bolt. One of the other differences between the original Oritsas and the updated ones is that originally you had this buffer block in the back of the end cap, and then you just had a spring here on the end of the bolt stem, and that would impact here at the end of travel, and this just acts to absorb the last bit of energy to soften recoil. The Orita is technically a hammer-fired gun. It's not a fixed firing pin gun. You can see the firing pin is retracted inside the bolt face there. What we have is a hammer right here. When the bolt hits the front of, or the back of the barrel face, this gets pushed in. It's going to push this lever back. You can see that lever right there. It is spring-loaded, and when it goes back, the firing pin protrudes forward and fires. Subtle, but you can see it happening right there. So what that means, that's a safety device. It means the gun can't fire out of battery because the firing pin doesn't come forward out of the breech face until this is all the way forward for that hammer to hit the front of the barrel, or the back of the barrel. Now, this spring-loaded sear is essentially the firing sear. The way that this works as a firing mechanism is we've got this pivoting piece. The bolt goes in here. We've got that spring-loaded bit that's going to go in. Let's get it all the way forward. It's going to go in. I apologize for the condition here. This gun needs a little TLC. That sear, it's spring-loaded and pushing down, or that lock in the bolt, and it's going to lock against this bit of the receiver. So the bolt can't go forward unless that lever in the bottom of the bolt gets pushed upwards. Well, you saw it spring-loaded. This lever right here is pushing on it. That pushes on the lever in the bolt. So when this gun is sitting ready to fire, it sits like this. And when you pull the trigger, this is a little hard to set up without the gun actually being assembled fully. When you pull the trigger pushes this bar up, which depresses the spring-loaded lock bar in the bolt, which then allows the mainspring to push the bolt forward, and goes forward and fires. It's actually, what's interesting about this is it's a nice, safe, appears to be reliable firing system that doesn't require any really finely machined parts. There are no really tight tolerances on this. The engagement of the sear doesn't have to be super precise because everything's spring-loaded, and there's a lot of interaction there to prevent the bolt from going forward. And of course, once you release the trigger, this is no longer putting pressure on that. That lever is going to snap down when the bolt's traveling backward to ensure that it doesn't keep firing after you've released the trigger. It's a neat system, actually. I haven't seen a system like that on a submachine gun before. So there is an all-original 1941 Romanian Orita submachine gun. Like I said earlier, if you want to see the history of how this was developed and see the modifications made to it in 1948 and how it was used, definitely check out my other video, which I will link in the description text below, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to show you this totally original one. So a big thanks to Springfield Armory, National Historic Site, for giving me access to this one out of their reference collection, which honestly I never would have guessed was in here, but they have a lot of really cool stuff here, and they have a bunch of it on display in their public museum. So if you happen to be in Springfield, Massachusetts, don't miss your chance to check out the museum. Particularly good display down there of US historical military firearms, including a whole bunch of interesting and unusual prototypes and experimental guns, especially surrounding the M1 Garand, which was designed and made right here at Springfield. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.